Hi, I'm Jack Davis, and welcome to another episode of The Zone. With me, as always, Jake Smith.
Great to be here.
Jake, got to be a great weekend for you, considering Arizona, your alma mater, takes down Arizona State.
Huge win, going to the Pac-12 championship game. Very, very, very excited.
It'll be a fun Friday night. But first off, let's talk about this week in sports and one of the lead stories. We haven't been able to talk about him on this show in weeks, but we're happy to bring him back up. Johnny Football. Johnny Manziel. The Cleveland Browns were struggling in Buffalo, down 26-10. Who do they bring in? Johnny Football. Leads them to an immediate touchdown. Scares the Buffalo crowd. Things didn't go so well from there. But Jake, Manziel showed his big playmaking ability. Brian Hoyer's been struggling the last few weeks. 6 interceptions against 1 touchdown in his last 3 games. Only a 50% completion rate. Is it time for Johnny Football in Cleveland?
No, it's absolutely not time. It's time for Johnny Football when they are completely out of the playoff hunt, which surprisingly the Browns are still in, and that's because it's Brian Hoyer. They need to give him a shot to finish this thing off. They need to know that if he's the guy for the future or not, they need to know that this season, so they need to hold off with Johnny Football.
But the thing is, the Browns are 7-5, and everyone who's for Hoyer is making the same argument as you, which is he's got them there, but he hasn't got them there. Look at the numbers. They're a team that's got a solid ground game. Crowell's been a great running back. They have a good secondary on defense. They can get some pressure on the quarterback. I know Hoyer hasn't had the weapons, that Josh Gordon's just coming back, but they do want to make the playoffs. It'd be great for the city of Cleveland for the Browns to make the playoffs, and Hoyer's not producing. This isn't like Hoyer's producing, but you want to bring in the future. Johnny has the same amount of touchdowns as Hoyer, and Johnny's played 2 series, and Hoyer's played the last 3 weeks.
I get that. I get all of that. I do. But being a quarterback is more than just 2 series of football. It's what do you do, preparation, what do you do and all that. It's not getting into fights with your entourage with some random fan. It's not having your bodyguard get pulled over for DUI. It's not any of that. It's everything that leads up to the game is also part of being a quarterback. A quarterback is held to a higher standard than anyone else on the team. They need to build that chemistry between Gordon and Hoyer still. I still think you have to give him at least 2 more weeks.
So you talk about Johnny Football sort of like ancillary stuff. One thing I didn't like, I wonder your take, a lot of NFL pundits criticize it, is Manziel gets in the end zone. And his first drive was amazing. You can't take that away from him. Marches down, 3 passes that went for 15 yards or more, a sick 12-yard run into the end zone. First thing he does is this. And I was like, come on, dude. Like, I understand that's a celebration, but you're in the league now. Act like you've been there. Act like you're a professional.
So I'm less concerned about that as the sack fumble where he just lays on the ground and lets them pick up the ball. Mm-hmm. And he's just literally laying there like a dead fish. Like, that's not a good look. I'm more concerned about that. Like, as soon as you get sacked, you need to be fighting to get the ball, whether you're going to get it or not. Doing that, that's branding for him. That's all of that.
But isn't that, you're talking about being a quarterback is more than just what happens during the week. Isn't that the type of stuff that's more like people want to look to someone as a leader and he's still acting like immature?
I agree. If it was just a celebration, fine. But I think that's his whole persona, and I think that right there is the issue that you bring up.
So, Mike Pettin, the Browns coach, has already announced Hoyer as this week's starting quarterback. But let's say the Browns lose this week. That would put them to 7-6, which, in this really competitive NFL year is almost definitely outside looking in. If they lose next week, do you think Manziel gets a shot the week after?
I think it all depends on how Hoyer plays. If he plays well, Manziel's still on the bench. If Hoyer struggles and throws 3 interceptions and no touchdowns, Johnny Football's going to be in the 3rd quarter.
They're looking at, and they're playing against the Indianapolis Colts. They're playing at home. I'll be wondering to see how the home Cleveland fans react if Hoyer does struggle. Playing against Andrew Luck, who's a dynamic guy, kind of in the mold. Luck's better than Manziel, but they're in the same mold of player.
I mean, Andrew Luck, in my opinion, is one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the league right now and will be the best to do it when it's all said and done. I know that's somewhat of a bold statement, but Andrew Luck has all the tools to be the best quarterback to ever play. So comparing him to Johnny Football...
But I'm saying they have the same style. They're both athletic and get outside the pocket. I know Luck's better. I'm just saying for the Browns fans, they're going to see a guy who is that young stud QB. And for all the things Brian Hoyer is, and he's a solid player, he's not a young stud QB. So I think, when you're sitting there watching Luck play, you might think that could be our guy.
I think that's a stretch, and I think actually Cleveland's fans are a little more intelligent than that.
So you're saying I'm making not intelligent comments, basically.
I think comparing Andrew Luck and Johnny Manziel right now...
I'm comparing hope. It's hope in a young player.
I think they have more hope in the team right now. Their defense is playing well. They have Hayden on the outside, who's a stud corner. And you know what? They're going to rely on that defense to win. That offense is not going to really be the one that wins them games.
My prediction is that they lose this week to Indianapolis, just because Indianapolis is a good team.
Yep.
And I think they're going to lose the week after, be 7-7, and then bring in Johnny.
I think that sounds exactly right.
Well, I guess I make intelligent comments every now and then. Now onto another NFL issue that's a little more serious in nature. We all know what's happening in Ferguson, crazy riots, protests. The St. Louis Rams, the football team, caught right in the middle of it. Rams players, specifically their skill players, their wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, decided to give their own protest. But when they were introduced on their game last Sunday against the Oakland Raiders, put up their hands in a gesture of solidarity with the community. The Rams talked about how they wanted to do it for the community, let the community know they stood with them. Hands up, don't shoot gesture. In my opinion, pretty non-controversial. They walked out, they played the game, but it obviously got a lot of press and attention, and even more press and attention when after the game, the St. Louis Police Department demanded an apology, saying that the gesture was offensive and stoking, the flames and passion and controversy that was in Ferguson and went against the idea of repairing the community. Then the St. Louis Police Department claimed that the Rams COO issued an apology. The Rams COO responded on Twitter saying he didn't issue an apology. They got in a Twitter war. The NFL has remained mum on the issue except to say that they are not going to suspend the Rams players. Jake, I want to hear what you have to say about this, but my take is I think it's embarrassing that the NFL hasn't come out in stronger defense of its players. These guys are making a extremely, in my opinion, non-controversial gesture. They're standing with the community. Even though the Mike Brown case has a lot of complexity, something that we have no place debating, they're trying to stand with their community. We can all, accept that, that crime on African Americans is a problem. It doesn't have to be about Mike Brown. These are guys banding together. And when the St. Louis Police Department demands an apology and acts all offended, the fact that the NFL just kind of stood away instead of supporting its players was troubling to me.
I think this is a very, very, very tough issue. The whole Mike Brown situation is tragic for sure. I definitely don't have an issue with the players doing what they did. That they have the freedom of expression, at least they should. And the NFL, they're a league where if your pants are an inch too high, you get fined. I was just dealing with that in the office the other day. Somebody's pants were literally a half inch too high. So they try to corral that expression and make everybody kind of the same. And I think that's where the Rams kind of are not in hot water by any means, but where that kind of trouble lies when it comes to the NFL, because at what point do you stop someone from doing it? So you have the Ray Lewis dance when he comes in, but then you stop touchdown celebration. So where is that line drawn? And I think that's why the NFL is kind of staying silent, because they don't want to make that decision right now.
But if you're Roger Goodell and the players hate you, right, and you handled the Ray Rice situation terribly, and you handled the Adrian Peterson situation awfully, and I get that he doesn't want to make any stances on anything. Like, he literally is not speaking publicly. But wouldn't this be a great chance to support your players? Because at the end of the day, you don't have to support one way or the other on the Mike Brown case. The St. Louis Police Department wanted these players fined and suspended for their gesture. I just feel like it'd be great to see the NFL commissioner come out and say, without commenting on the Mike Brown situation, it's ludicrous to think that we'd fine or suspend our players for their freedom of speech. We support our players' rights to speak their minds on all political issues, no matter what side they take, and the notion that we would fine them is crazy.
That would make sense, but when it comes to this, and this gesture is been so closely tied to the Mike Brown case, that for them to take a stance. Also, I could see the NFL thinking that that's them taking a stance on the Mike Brown case, and that's what they don't want to do. So I understand the NFL staying silent. It's really not an NFL issue. It's the Rams. It's a Rams issue. They have players supporting members of their community, absolutely fine. Their coach, their organization is fine with it. They should be fine with it.
If I was a Rams player, I'd be upset at how their chief operating officer, kind of just tried to calm the situation down and support your players, right? Of all the times to support your players, I feel like now is the time.
Well, by him saying that he didn't apologize, that's more support than I honestly would expect them to get.
I mean, I think it's a crazy issue. It'll be interesting to see what the brushback is like at future home games, because if there's one thing we've learned, right, that's non-controversial, is that there's a lot of tension and animosity in the St. Louis area, and to see how this affects it moving forward for future games, because this was a huge story locally there.
Well, the crazy thing is the Rams have been the most rumored team to move. especially come to LA. So it would be very, very interesting if this could be possibly the thing that pushes the ownership over the edge.
Well, not even just the ownership, but local support, right? Because right now, there's clearly divided lines in St. Louis, and if you have people who are on one side of that line seeing this gesture as representing something and they abandon supporting the team, it could just even financially push them to LA.
It's going to be interesting.
Now, I don't want this to push them to LA because I just jumped on their Rams players' side, but team in LA, I'd love it. Rams, good young players. It'd be exciting.
There needs to be a team in LA.
So that's enough serious moments for the show. But now we're going to talk about the best wow moment of the week. And we want you to comment in the comment section of this video with what wow moment which of these two moments you think is the best wow moment. But first off, let's check out last night's game-winning three from Steph Curry. And Steph Curry with the shot, just like Drake says, splash. And as much as that was a game-winning shot, totally important, when we're talking wow moment, we have to watch Gerald Green's dunk. One of the most amazing dunks I've ever seen in the game. If we can cue up Gerald's video. Off the backboard alley-oop in a game. Jesus, from the free throw line. So Jake, which is the better wow moment? Steph's game winner or Gerald self alley-oop from the free throw line?
As amazing as that self alley-oop was and is and will be on highlights for years to come, that crossover step back three for a game winner when it's Steph Curry, I think that's a better wow moment just because of the situation in the game.
But the thing is, when you're talking about a wow moment, now again, great shot by Steph, but we've all hit game winners, right? Like at the park, you can hit a game winner. I'm more impressed by something I know I could never do. I'll never dunk on a 9-foot hoop, let alone a 10-foot hoop. But most NBA players don't have almost all NBA players don't have the athleticism to gather from the free throw line, scoop under someone's arm, throw it off the backboard, perfect angle, then gather up and rise from in between the free throw line and the basket and self-jam. Unbelievable. One of the most athletic plays in the most athletic league.
I mean, the athleticism that he displayed was astounding. It was an unbelievable play. But when I say wow, it's like that situation makes that shot 10 times more difficult. So that situation for me makes it more of a wow moment. It's like when you're at the park and you hit a game winner on someone, you're going to talk crazy amounts of shit.
Yes, I'll do that no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. I know you do that. It's hysterical. I love it. But that moment makes it more of like, wow, I just did that in your face, game winner, the game's over. Like that literally, that shot ends the game. It's like, there's nothing else to be said.
For me, you take Steph, I take Gerald Green. Everyone, let us know what's your favorite of those two moments more. I think you'd all rather just dunk from the free throw line. Leave it in the comments and we'll comment back. Now we're gonna go to our WTF moment, our what the fuck moment of the week. Crazy week in sports. First off, Kevin Garnett went all Cannibal Holocaust and tried to eat Joakim Noah, if we can cue that video. Here's KG, he's chilling, and he tries to bite Joakim Noah. Like, literally tries to bite him. This is in the middle of a sporting event. And if you thought that was crazy, they're competitors, Noah, Garnett, they've had a rivalry. Former Oklahoma teammates, DeMarco Murray and Brennan Clay, they got in a little bit of a spat this week, if we can pull up those tweets. When Brennan Clay accused and pretty viciously DeMarco, his former teammate, of having an affair with his wife. Let's read this tweet. So DeMarco Murray was having an affair with my wife. I'm done. DeMarco Murray and Gina Egados. One has a baby mama and she has 2 kids. I'm disgusted. And then ends it with, on that note, headed to church, drops the mic. Jake, what is the bigger what the fuck moment? Kevin Garnett trying to eat Joakim Noah or DeMarco Murray having an affair with his former mentee's wife and him tweeting about it?
It has to be the Brennan Clay moment. And the fact that he put it on Twitter, put him on blast is hysterical. It's a sad situation.
20,000 retweets on his first tweet.
I saw that when it was tweeted. And I was like, and I literally texted one of my friends. I was like, yo, did you see this Brennan Clay, DeMarco Murray stuff? Like, is it real? At that point we didn't know, and then all the stories came out and everything like that. That's the crazier moment. And the reason
he tagged them both in the tweet.
He added them. It wasn't a subtweet at all. He said, you guys are disgusting human beings. He was on the record saying that DeMarco Murray was who he looked up to as a football player, as a person, everything. Yeah. That was his guy that he wanted to be like. And then to know that that guy was having an affair with his wife of 4 months is crazy.
They have a kid. They have a kid.
Yeah, they got married 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So that to me is like, holy shit, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Now, Kevin Garnett is crazy. He's insane. He's always been crazy. the whole Charlie Villanueva stuff, the Tim Duncan stuff, like nothing that he does will surprise me. And as he would say, anything is possible. So nothing that Kevin Garnett does at this point surprises me anymore.
So let's break down these situations. DeMarco Murray, I mean, that's crazy that you would take the wife of the guy you're mentoring. But Brandon Clay tweeting at them is obviously, that takes it to the next level. Because we know this happens in life, in sports, everywhere. People have affairs. But him tweeting at them, imagine being DeMarco Murray. You're sitting there, you're on your phone. These guys check their Twitter notifications. They don't go through every single thing to get a lot of notifications. But he got 20,000 notifications from that tweet. So he'd be like, damn, getting called out. And if you're the wife, I mean, that's just absurd. I mean, you're really being, labeled very negatively, and maybe rightfully so, for the whole world to see. But I have to go with the Garnett-Noah situation is crazy. Can we have that Garnett video one more time? Is that possible? We're gonna get this Garnett video here. Look at this. So literally, he's trying to bite him in the middle of the game. This is basketball. This isn't boxing. And for me, the reason the Garnett is the bigger what the fuck moment is because people have affairs all the time. That's just the truth. People make apps for people who have affairs. There's special types of phones for cheaters. There's cheating societies and websites and hangouts and all this stuff. So yeah, Brandon Clay calling him out on Twitter is kind of crazy. But at the same time, he was emotional. He found out he got cheated on. He wanted to publicly shame those who hurt him. I can understand that, okay? But trying to eat someone in the middle of a game, Kevin Garnett's become like such a sad parody of himself. Like he's I'm this super intense guy. That's crazier because cheating happens every day. Trying to bite someone's hand, that does not happen every day, especially in sports. So Garnett and Noah is my what the fuck moment.
Fair enough. I just think that with Garnett's history of the whole Tim Duncan situation on Mother's Day, right after his mother passed away from cancer, telling him Happy Mother's Day, the whole Charlie Villanueva looking like a cancer patient.
He definitely seems like a horrible person.
He does not seem like someone that I would want to be friends with at all.
But maybe DeMarco Murray and Kevin Garnett should be friends.
Yeah. I mean, they probably would get along.
And then kill each other or something.
But like what I think, it's just crazy. He calls him out on Twitter. She pretty much deletes all her tweets except for 2, takes her picture off the Twitter, all that kind of stuff. DeMarco Murray, as far as I know, hasn't even acknowledged any of it.
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of crazy to me that Brandon Clay and they were teammates, and like when you're in a locker room with guys, that's just something that should never ever happen. Especially if you guys play the same position. Guys that play the same position are the closest guys on the team. Whether it's linemen, running backs, receivers, that's who you spend the majority of your time with. Everybody knows their girlfriends, significant others, whatever it may be. That just should be off limits to me. And as a football player, that to me is like, wow, that should not happen ever.
Yeah, crazy. Well, so you picked DeMarco as the what the fuck moment. I have Garnett. Anyway, let's move to our call out of the week. Jake, I'll let you go first. Your call out of the week.
My call out of the week is UAB football program for dropping football. This story just came out in the past couple of days. It's been leaked for the past month. And there's so many rumors flying around as to why it happened. They claim the money doesn't add up, yet they're not even in the bottom when it comes to money spent on football and running the deficit that they run. The real reason that a lot of people are saying is because UAB is run by the Alabama Board of Trustees, where Paul Bear Bryant's son, Paul Bryant Jr., is on. And the rumor is that the president of UAB got the job because only if he would cut football in some way or another. This is just a terrible situation all around. They pluck a head coach from an FCS program that has a chance to win a national title, and 18 months later, they cut his program. The players are all distraught because who knows where they're going to go. It's not like they're the Penn State team that had a free transfer and everybody wants them since they were all 4 or 5-star recruits coming out of high school. These are guys that are getting their shot at UAB and love football. I just think it's disgraceful that this is what has to happen. I think it's horrible for all the other sports at UAB because for them to stay in Conference USA, they need a football program. It's just a terrible situation all around and one that should never happen, especially when it comes to the reason it happening just due to politics. And as a football player, I understand where these guys are coming from, how much they love to play, how much they love the game. And this is something that, to me, just should never, ever happen, especially with all these FCS programs that are lined up to take the jump to FBS. You can't tell me that the numbers don't add up. This is strictly a political decision, and I think it's disgraceful. And underrated part of that story is UAB had a great year. They went 6-6, one of their best seasons in a long time. Very well-respected coach. People thought the program actually could be on the rise.
And I heard that some of the, in those politics you're talking about, people are like, oh, we had such a good year, maybe that won't allow us to kill the program. So these are talented players. They banded together and had a great season.
The players voted to say, look, I understand that the program's collapsing, but if we get invited to a bowl game, we want to go. So that's going to be their last hurrah. You know, it's tough when you take all these guys, these coaches have families, these players have families. There was a 27-year-old who served in Afghanistan or Iraq. There was a 3-year-old that had to ask him what was going to happen to his football program. And he goes, and he had this very, very heartfelt moment basically yelling at the school president, Watts, about there's 17, 18-year-olds on the team. I have a 3-year-old son. I'm 27. What is everybody supposed to do now? Like, where are we supposed to go? Everybody's fit. People come from 3,000 miles to play here, to come and be a part of this, be a part of this community. It's just something that should never happen.
Terrible situation. And on terrible situations, my call out of the week is Roger Goodell. And now I know he's an easy target, but sometimes an easy target's an easy target for a reason, and you can't just avoid them. This week, a judge ruled that Ray Rice was improperly suspended and that Roger Goodell acted beyond his powers in suspending Rice. Now, if we remember Roger Goodell's public face-saving attempts from September, he said he resuspended Rice for the same crime, not because of all the PR fallout he was getting, but because Rice had presented a starkly different version of the events than in reality. The video that surfaced was starkly different than what Rice told him in a private meeting. Well, this turned out to not be true. A judge that Goodell picked. So Roger Goodell picked this judge, and his hand-picked judge basically says, yeah, Roger was lying. The version of events on the video was exactly what Ray Rice said to the NFL in August. Ray Rice's suspension is over. And when did this terrible news come out? On Friday after Thanksgiving at 1 p.m. So mid-afternoon, Black Friday, pretty much the best time to bury a news story. Roger Goodell has no shame in his ability and attempts to control the media. He's pretty much been deemed by a judge as a liar. Ray Rice is now eligible to sign, yet he is making no public statements. Doesn't seem to be any pressure on his job. So I guess it falls onto me, the true warrior here of American sports, to call out Roger Goodell and say, Roger Goodell, you are the worst, you are a liar. Anyone could have done the job you did in terms of growing the league revenue. The NFL is a cash cow. And right now, the biggest threats to the league isn't Ray Rice and that public fallout, isn't Adrian Peterson, isn't the St. Louis Rams and their hands up. The biggest threat to the NFL is your ineptitude as commissioner.
It's a bad. I mean, we talked about it on the show when it happened, when he got suspended for the second time. We're like, I said it. I said that there's no way it's going to stand up. He's going to get reinstated. He's going to get his money. Because he's also going to be able to file suit to get all the money back that he lost by being wrongfully terminated. So Roger Goodell is just going to continue to be made look worse and worse and worse when this situation, the whole Adrian Peterson situation happens and they fall. And
Roger Goodell has an amazing ability to never get ahead of the story, but to always stay two steps behind it. Which is, I mean, how do you not have the foresight and even just self-awareness to see where something's going and be like, look, I messed up, here's all the things I did, and just come out, take the brush back for a day or two instead of continually lying and digging yourself deeper.
It's unbelievable with how powerful and big the league is. They can't get a better PR person, a better person that someone in their trust.
He came from PR.
It's crazy.
He came from PR. That was his original job.
It makes absolutely no sense to me, and he's just, like I said, going to continue to look worse and worse and worse.
Well, terrible times for UAB football and Roger Goodell, but great times here on The Zone.
Always.
Jake, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you next week. And thanks, everyone, for watching. Make sure to comment on what you thought the best wow moment was and the best WTF moment was. Me and Jake disagreed, so I'm sure one of you has an opinion different than us. We'll comment back. And make sure to go to thelip.tv, where you can see full episodes of The Zone, our past episodes, and all the amazing programs The Lip has to offer. Also, follow The Lip on social media. Facebook.com/LipTV, hit that like button, and follow The Lip on Twitter, Twitter/TheLipTV, @TheLipTV.